I have various areas of that I'm interested in for my research, and one particularly, the main one actually I do for the College of Education is my background in gender equity education or gender equity studies. So a lot of times that is a wide window, and basically I have the opportunity to study the transition of school to work for men, women, and minority groups, but really looking at what is happening in the educational system in the lens of using the lens of gender equity, gender, and how is that impacting where people are going to work. For instance, when you look at the statistics of who are elementary school teachers, yet who are firefighters, right? When we look at these statistics, what impact does an educational experience have on the career choices made by students based on their gender? And one of the things I'm doing recently is I went and I put a survey together. I took it over to England, London, and I surveyed about 40 teachers over there and asked them the amount of gender equity training they received in their pre-service training. Also included in that was questions about bullying and cyberbullying. So I gave the exact same survey to American teachers here in Northern California, and asked them the same questions. So it's going to be a cross-cultural comparison research where I'm looking at going to see, are British teachers any farther ahead than we are in America? Do either group of teachers need training on gender equity? Because my hypothesis is yes, teachers are not getting enough training in the area of gender inclusion strategies and gender equity studies. Really, one day of training, teachers can go out and implement the things they're learning in a good gender equity training or workshop. That's very empowering for me, that they can go out and use exact things they use. Here's the question though, consistency. Do they just do it for a week, or is it something that's ongoing and it becomes part of their common practice? Looking at role models they bring into their classes. Looking at the type of books they're using, what kind of protagonists are in the readings and the things they're having their kids research. Is there an equitable choices for male and females in the projects students are doing? And then also looking at from the idea of the social justice lens, is there diversity and ethnicity also in the choices students are getting when they're picking out who to study and who's included in the teacher curriculum? That's kind of interesting, when teachers step back and look at, what does their class look like? Does it model the students that are in their classroom? And what we say is students should see themselves in the curriculum. And if they don't, there really probably needs to be some changes made in the curriculum and the way what the teachers are bringing in the classroom. Also, this research or the work I do, particularly with my graduate program, Behavioral Sciences Gender Equity, we have people that come into this master's program and this research that I do as well, and make change in the workplace. Many of our students and my training is also done in the workplace. I have a background in human resource management, on an MBA in human diversity management, the study of transition from school to work for men, women, and minority students. And then my background and my doctoral in education. And what I think this is really important is when we're teaching teachers about being good managers, I also believe good managers also need to be great teachers. So there is this idea that if you have not a traditional education background, how you can use the research in gender equity in your career. Many of our students, they'll come in with, let's say, an education background, but they'll end up, deciding that their research and the research in gender equity has taken them to a different, opened up a different door. An example, I have someone who's a teacher who came into our program, a K-12 educator, was able to receive her training on gender equity and master's, and ended up working for the district office as the Title IX coordinator, overseeing Title IX. So this door opened up an area in education. Other students have entered this program as well as educators, but ended up leaving, working for a publishing company. And what we talked about, seeing themselves in the curriculum, they're now the advocate or the expert at a publishing company, making sure that there's more diversity woven into the textbooks. I actually have a human resource management degree and ran a publishing company for 10 years. My background is I've had 10 years work experience while getting my bachelor's degree. I can really relate to students who are working full-time and going to school at night, because that was my journey as well. So I have an MA in Human Resource Management, an MBA in Human Diversity Management. And what that was, I cross-listed women's studies with business and brought the two together, and was able to really look at, issues of harassment in the workplace, equity in the workplace, being able to put, let's say, employee handbooks together, employee trainings together. And this was a time where the word diversity wasn't very commonly used. So that's exciting. But the days I knew I loved going to work were the days when I was able to train and facilitate. And those were and I really knew I had to take a step back and think, is this something I wanted to do? And I was given the opportunity in my MA program to team teach a course. And I knew right then that that was going to be my career field. I gave up private sector, working in business, and really then focused on a career in education. And really good decision for me. Okay. I've been able to use my business skills, I think, in helping mentor and work with faculty as much as I can. Again, I believe the saying, you're only as good as the people around you. And I love my job, and I think I do a pretty good job in my teaching. But that's pretty much because I'm around some pretty great people, faculty and staff. People are just very kind and generous with their time and their expertise as well. I'm always learning. I'm always learning from my colleagues about how to be a better educator. And in turn, I'd like to give back to them. I'm always sharing, and we definitely teach. This is kind of interesting about the College of Ed, undergraduate and our graduate courses for the EDUC. Very collaborative. We believe in a collaborative kind of model of teaching where we have very similar syllabus, we have similar readings. Most of our classes almost have the same reader we've all mutually agreed on using. And that just makes this very rich for our students, but also for our faculty. Some of the students from the master's program that I oversee have gone on to become school principals. They have gone on to teach at the university. Many of them will teach K-12 and then perhaps teach at night at the community college or at the university, or go on. Many of our students will go on to get their PhDs as well, and then come back and teach areas of social justice and gender equity at the university level. We do kind of a lifespan look at the area of research in this master's program, which means lifespan preschool to senior citizens. I mean, students come in with a very broad lens of what area they want to research in the area of gender equity, gender inclusion, and education. And where that takes them is really up to them. But I know it's opened a lot of doors professionally for students. Their master's thesis got them in front of the right people, and their research got them exposed to the right people, which then opened up a new career field for them.